And then we have a picture of the war council. We have Prince Gregor and King Sardak pointing to the map and saying, yes, here's where I will resurrect an ice cream shop once we complete the town. It'll have very lovely ice cream. You should come sometime. Oh, yes, I will come. Do you have Rocky Road? I love Rocky Road. It's fantastic. You know, because that's what kings talk about when they're preparing for war. If only we knew the number of reinforcements Baron Shinzar has received, the king says uneasily, then we could be sure our plans would succeed. The prince nods in agreement. We must send a scout to reconnoiter their defenses, or hundreds of our soldiers could lose their lives needlessly in the assault. The king looks in your direction, and then returns his eyes to the prince. I have no scouts trained for such a delicate operation, he says, but I see you have a pathfinder. Send him! His skills would be well suited for the task. The prince hesitates. He cannot reasonably refuse the king's suggestion, yet to send you into the enemy camp would endanger your life and your quest. Oh, what the heck! I'm all nimbly-bimbly, I'll do it. If you wish to volunteer to scout the enemy positions? Indeed. Excellent, says King Sarnak. I wish I had a few like you in my own army. You have no idea. Darn right you wish you had a few of me. He bids you step forward and shows you the extent of the known enemy positions using Prince Gregor's map. Once you have been briefed, he sends for some black clothing for you to wear instead of your gray Pathfinder's uniform, and some burnt cork with which to blacken your face and hands. You are then escorted to the edge of the encampment, close to the dusty road on which the army marched from Luamai. The guards tell you that the password is broadsword. The password is broadsword. When you return, you must use this password, word, or the pickets, the sentries who guard the perimeter of the camp, may mistake you for one of the enemy. Remember, broadsword. The ground to the west of Ketsa is flat and featureless and offers very little cover to conceal your approach. Slowly you work your way through the knee-high grasses to within 20 yards of the stone bridge. There, the roadway crosses a foul-smelling ditch and enters the town. Your every movement is stiff with caution now, and the bridge is barricaded, and you can see the spiky black helmets of the enemy defenders glinting in the moonlight. Snake-like, you wriggle forward, slide down into the ditch, and take shelter beneath the stone bridge. With one cheek pressed against the wet stone, you strain your ears to hear what the enemy are saying. You recognize their harsh, ugly language. It is Gak, but it is being spoken by human voices. The only humans to speak so fluently are the Death Knights, the elite of Drakarum. And we have a picture of a Death Knight helmet and some axes. Suddenly, there's a loud splash that sends your pulse racing. A spear has fallen close to where you are hiding, and its shaft stands upright in the muddy water. A growling curse is followed by the sound of heavy boots descending the bank as an angry Death Knight comes to retrieve the weapon he dropped. If you've completed the lower circle of Solaris, which I believe I have. Yeah, I have. Turn to page 13. Alright then. Oh, otherwise I would have had to use the random number table. And we all know how that works out. Alright, drawing on your Kai skills, you blend with the shadows and stand absolutely still. The Death Knight warrior appears filling the archway with his massive frame. He snatches up the spear in his mailed fist, turns, and then hauls himself out of the ditch, grunting and cursing his carelessness as he struggles in his heavy armor. You wait for about 30 minutes before leaving your hiding place and working your way along the ditch. Silently, you move through the shallow sludge of water and mud, hidden by the bank of the ditch from the watchful eyes of the Drakarum sentries. Beyond the ditch, the ground rises to a low wall, which encircles a field of cultivated trees. It is an apple orchard, and it is full of enemy soldiers huddled around their campfires or asleep beneath the fruit-laden branches. Beyond the orchard lies an expanse of open grassland covered with tents and makeshift paddocks full of horses. Here, then, are Baron Shinzar's reinforcements, over 600 cavalry, newly arrived from Blackshroud. You commit every detail to memory before leaving the ditch and making your way back stealthily to the Allies' camp. The King and Prince Gregor praise your success of your scouting mission. The information you have gathered is of vital importance to their battle plans. The prince senses that you are tired and orders his heralds to escort you back to the headquarters and prepare a comfortable bed for you. After the long day's march and the exertions from your scouting mission, you accept gratefully the chance for a good night's sleep. At the break of dawn, the soldiers of Lincia and Iru rouse themselves and adopt their positions for the fight. You gather your equipment and join the prince at the top of the hill on which he has established his command post. He is observing the enemy line through a telescope and dictating orders to his heralds, who commit his words to parchment and dispatch them to his regiment on the field. Alright, now we have a map of how the battle's going to go. This is actually really cool. It's like a battle plan. Alright, so let's take a look at this, shall we? Alright, so here is our forces. Here's the ditch and the stone bridge that you are at. Here's the orchard, and the back behind here are the reinforcements, I believe. Okay, so here's what we got. The bad guys got some archers down here. God, I feel like I'm doing Total War now. Some Darkham pikes. Yeah, some Hammerlanders. Some Hammerlanders here, and other archers. The Death Knights are guarding the bridge. They're elite troops, where the hammer stroke is going to fall hardest, of course. And then you have more archers. Then you have armored Dracarum behind the archers. Some Brigadines, some more archers. Over here, we have, of course, the Foot Knights and the Halberds that are going to try and attack the bridge, push our way into there. You have the Peasant Levy reserves. You're keeping those in reserve because those are not your good forces. You got some longbows on the hill. You got your pikes over here. You have 1,000 Lincian spearmen right here. This is going to be your main push against the river. And of course, you have your mounted cavalry here. It looks like the mounted cavalry are going to try and do a flanking maneuver across the ditch. And then you have your reserves back here. Yeah, so pretty cool. At least I think so. You may not think so, but you know, I thought it was cool. Alright. We outnumber the enemy 2-1, but they are well positioned to receive our attack, comments the prince, handing you a telescope so that you can scan their lines. The town of Ketsa is little more than a handful of ruined cottages clustered on the flat-topped hill. To the north lies a wood and a small hill on which a ruined temple stands. To the south lies an orchard surrounded by a low wall, and further on open grassland bisected by a ditch that runs the whole length of the battlefield. The road from Lumai crosses the ditch, and a stone bridge which is barricaded and heavily defended. The enemy have also been busy to the north. A mass of pointed stakes form a barrier between the two hills to impede any attempt by cavalry to break through the center. And all along this defensive line are row upon row of Dracarum archers. An unnatural calm descends on the field, as though time momentarily stands still. Suddenly, the quiet is shattered by a fanfare of trumpets from King Sarnak's camp. It is a signal to advance. Oh, you know what? I think this requires battle music, yes? There we go. The Foot Knights of Lincia are the first to go forward, their densely packed columns marching in perfect order towards the bridge at the center of the enemy line. As they come within range, there is a sound like rushing water, and a cloud of black arrows pour down their armored ranks. Huge gaps appear in the line, and the column seems to sway under the impact before continuing the assault. They are flanked to the south by crossbowmen, who are firing their weapons as they advance. Unlike the knights, they wear very little armor, and over half their number are felled by arrows when they halt to reload their cumbersome crossbows. The survivors retreat, taking cover among the massed ranks of Lincian spearmen, who are now advancing towards the orchard. Prince Gregor signals his pikemen and men-at-arms to support the Lincian knights, who are engaged in a bitter hand-to-hand fight on the stone bridge. They are within 100 yards of the bridge when a crackling ray of electric fire sweeps down from the ruins of the temple. It rips through their packed ranks with devastating effect, blasting the pikemen high into the air. If you have the Magnified Discipline of Divination and have reached the rank of Tutelary or more. Yes, I have. I have done that. Again, the crackling bolt of blue-white fire lances from the hilltop ruins and strikes with lethal accuracy. Screams of terror rend the air as the unslain soldiers fall apart in a desperate panic to panic-stricken flight to escape the fate that has befallen their slain comrades. Your Kai senses draw your eyes away from the carnage to focus on a figure clad in silver mail with a gold-spiked helmet. He is crouching on the highest point of the dilapidated temple wall, and you sense that his magical power is the source of the deadly blast. Quickly, you inform the prince of what you have sensed and seen at the temple. "By the gods! What manner of black sorcery is this?" gasped Prince Gregor, horrified by the cruel slaughter. But his horror is soon overcome by the sudden realization that he must act swiftly to counter this threat, or the battle might be lost. The Lyncian knights are being held up at the bridge, and every minute that passes costs them dearly. He calls for his destrier, a magnificent white charger clad in ornate plate armor, and climbs into the saddle. "To battle!" he shouts, and ignoring the warnings of his heralds, he spurs his warhorse down the hill. The knights of the palace guard give a rousing cheer as he takes his place at the head of their column and leads them towards the ruined temple. "If you wish to mount your horse and join the cavalry advance?" "Yes! Let's do it! Let's get into this!" As the palace guard advances majestically, their serried ranks of steel slowly change formation in preparation for the prince's order to charge. Heavy lances rise like the spines of a steel porcupine, and their scarlet and yellow pinions unfurl to the wind. A wave of arrows comes flying towards you, sent by the Dracarum standing behind their fence of stakes. But the range is long, and the black shafts rattle harmlessly off Urian armor and shields. The first rank of horsemen reach the ditch to find the earth soft and waterlogged. The ruined temple lies 300 yards ahead, and before it a line of Dracarum pikemen stand grimly silent on the slope of the hill. A warhorse blares its signal, and suddenly all hell breaks loose. Arrows pour from all sides, from the enemy archers to the right, and from archers previously unseen lurking in the woods to the left. Many shafts find their way through the sides of helmets and between plates of polished armor. Still, the prince commands his men onwards, and they force their horses across the ditch, braving the savage hail of death. You survive the arrows and steer your horse through the cloying mud, but you are knocked from the saddle by a riderless steed, maddened by the pain of its wounds. Pick a number on the random number table if you have the Magnified discipline of animal control and hunt mastery. I do not. Well, that's not good. Alright, random number table, don't fail me now. I need a 5 or better. Yay! Maybe he's being agreeable today. Got a 7. Alright, you land with a splash and roll into the ditch to avoid being trampled by the following horses. After clawing the muck from your eyes, you crawl along the channel. A short distance ahead, you see a knight is pinned beneath his dead horse. In his flailing his he is flailing his arms wildly, and you can see that his head is trapped beneath the mud, and he is slowly drowning. If you wish to save his life by pulling him out from beneath his horse, you choose to ignore his plight. What? That sucks. No, I'm gonna save him. I'm not a dick. Once you have managed to grab hold of his arms, you heave him out from beneath his dead mount and prise open his visor of his helmet. He coughs and retches the mud from his mouth and lies back against the bank of the ditch. "I owe you my life, Pathfinder," he gasps. "Another minute and I'd have been done for." You turn to leave, but he grabs your wrist and presses a medal into your hand. "I won this at the Battle of Lumai," he says with pride. "I want you to have it, with my eternal thanks. If you wish to keep the medal, mark it on your action chart as a special item that you carry in your pocket." No. He can keep it. He can keep it. I'm not going to take his medal. I'm just doing my job. You keep that, sir. Alright. Another cloud of arrows fills the sky as you dive to the bottom of the ditch to avoid being hit. When you feel it is safe to raise your head, you discover that the knight is no longer with you. He is chasing after the prince and his fellow knights as they gallop up the hill towards the Dracarum pikemen. If you wish to follow him on foot, if you wish to look for a horse. Let's go on foot! I don't need to take the time to look for a horse. Prince Gregor's voice rings out above the din of battle as he orders the palace guard to charge the pikemen. The ground shakes beneath the pounding of their horses' hooves as they gather speed, their pinions streaming from their leveled lances. The Dracarums huddle shoulder to shoulder and nervously dig their butts of their pikes into the hillside to steady their shaking hands. The knights reach the hill. They thunder up the slope. A blaze of lightning hurls from the top of the temple, but it is mistimed and crackles harmlessly over their heads and explodes behind them, hurling nothing but scorched earth into the sky. The prince screams his battle cry, and the knights slam into the Dracarum with a deafening roar. Men in metal howl in agony as the heavy horse breaks like a wave against the wall of pikes. You see a rider lifted out of his saddle on the point of a pike, and a ramp of black metal suddenly appears with a score of Dracarum have been trampled to the ground. The prince and a dozen of his bravest knights break through and gallop towards the temple, but the Dracarum quickly close the ranks and seal the gap. The remaining palace guard is forced to halt and engage the pikemen in fierce hand-to-hand combat.